All right, you glorious or miserable accursed, whichever you are this morning. David Herle here, along with the Curse of Politics panel on Friday, April the 11th, the end of our coverage of week 3 of the election campaign. I'm joined, as always, by Jordan Leichnitz and Scott Reid. We anticipate Kory Teneycke joining us. He may be either sleeping in at the moment from partying at the Manning Conference or at the bottom of the moat outside the Chateau Laurier turret. We do not know at the moment where Kory is, but nonetheless, we'll
With a
carry
big
on. And
"don't believe the Poles" knife stuck in his back.
Okay, we'll try to get through this one, and we'll get rejuvenated over the weekend and come back with more on Monday. But in the meantime, Nick Taylor-Vasey from Politico is here, fresh from posting the Ottawa playbook.
Wait. Before we go to Nick, I mean, I know we're missing Kory, but aren't we going to take a second to just comment on how the pod, like the Holy Spirit, was everywhere yesterday? Kory, I don't know about you guys. I got a little fresh feedback from Kory's intervention yesterday about
There was
the
some
Conservative
feedback.
campaign.
Yep, there was some feedback.
Drove some earned media. He was on TV. Today's in the newspapers. Lots of email comments. YouTube became a little unhinged.
Yeah, people were interested in the show yesterday. Jordan, what did you hear out there?
I mean, they were interested in Kory.
They were.
Come on, I heard nice things about all of us. I
well,
really did.
yeah, nice things, but the popcorn was being popped for Kory, and yeah, I mean, I think people were really ready to hear his unvarnished takes, which he provided yesterday at length, and I think that that's resonated with a lot of people. He's definitely given voice to concerns and criticisms that are there within the conservative movement. Just with, with more curse words than are allowed on national TV. So that's why we're always more fun. We are the fun show.
But he didn't just pull the grenade pin. He pulled the grenade pin, he shoved it down their throats, yanked it out their ass, and then rubbed it all over their hair and threw it out.
Like there is not a bridge left that Kory has not bombed, which is impressive.
So anyway, I assume that we'll have to meet his standard. We'll follow up today by dragging in Jagmeet Singh and just wailing on him with a foam bat until he admits that he isn't going to be competitive in the election. I don't know what.
Well, I mean, if he, maybe only if he lost a 25-point lead that I'm unaware of. It might not have the same resonance.
It's a fairly sizable caucus in 2011 that appears to much be depleted. But anyway.
There was help on that one.
Yeah, he was only phase 2 of that demolition project.
That's right.
All right. Bring in the crane.
Joint project.
All right. Sorry, Nick. We had to chew on ourselves for a second.
I just like to sit and observe. It's very nice to be here for a few minutes. I mean, this is
Nick,
great.
I'm fucking sick of seeing your unkempt bed in the morning. Jesus Christ.
God, man.
What are you talking about? It's made.
If you call that a made bed, I'm going to be talking to your mother when this pod is over.
I'd like to remind you it's 4:41 a.m. I'm going back into the bed, so I'm not going to make it crisp. I'm not going to make it U.S. Marine Corps 4 inches. Like, come on.
You're still in the Prairie time zone?
I still am. I'm flying home today, but I'm still here now. Yes.
All right. So, what's the big story in the Ottawa playbook today?
What's the big story in the Ottawa playbook today is, well, I think it's interesting that this is one line in the playbook, but Mark Carney is in Ottawa, and he gets to wear his PM hat today again, convene a meeting of his Canada-U.S. Cabinet Committee. And as we talk about, whenever this happens, as you've talked about a lot, a PM hat day is a good day for the Prime Minister. And people are starting to ask, like the Globe editorial board places are starting to ask questions about the frequency with which that hat is being donned. But the fact is, it's happening. It's a crazy world out there, and Carney's taking the opportunity in Ottawa.
It's not the worst breaking of norms that's going on.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah. So where are the leaders today?
Well, he's there, and that meeting is at 10 a.m. with his cabinet committee. Pierre Poilievre is in St. Catharines and then headed down to Windsor. He's hosting an evening rally. It's at a big warehouse space, and it's not too far. It's like a 5-minute drive from the Stellantis assembly plant down there in Ottotown.
Right.
Jagmeet Singh, I have a feeling Jordan's going to have some things to say about what he has to say. He's at the Broadband Institute's Progress Summit today. at 11:30. He is making remarks, and then he will talk to reporters right afterwards. And so this is an opportunity for him to have a stage. And then you won't be surprised to learn that Yves-François Blanchet is in Quebec.
Oh,
Really?
Shocking.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Yeah.
I know. Every day I wonder. I mean, he was in Ottawa this week once.
But
So
there are more than one part like to Quebec. So
What kind of events does he do?
he does press conferences, he does scrums, and then he does evening events, but not of the size and scale of even a Mark Carney, and certainly not a Pierre Poilievre.
They would want him more French. He's like, does he like just eat a baguette and complain about the threat that Mark Carney represents to French culture? Or
There's so much French. It's nonstop French. In fact, it's exclusively French,
Right.
for the most part.
Right. So do you have any clue as to what Mr. Singh's going to talk about at Broadbent that made you think that Jordan would be excited about it?
Well, I mean, this is a big stage. This is the summit of progressives. This is this is down
of progressives.
This is down the
That
road
sounds
from
like a terrible movie.
from the Manning event as that.
Starring Jude Law.
I also love just how Kory refers to this as the Manning Conference, because every time we refer to it as that, the organizers always get very angry. They're like, "We're not that anymore. Don't call us that." So Kory is he's breaking all the rules these days, and I appreciate
all
that.
the rules.
But Mr. Singh is I just imagine he is in a room full of supportive voices, and he's going to have some things to say. That's all.
All right. Excellent. We will look forward to it, and we'll talk about it on Monday, I'm sure. Nick, have a great weekend. Get some rest.
Thanks for having me all week, guys.
All right. Polara Polling is brought to you by Enbridge, a leading Canadian energy infrastructure company, reliably and affordably fueling your quality of life and powering our economy. All right. So Monday, April 7th through Thursday, April 10th, 2,168 mix of live interviewer and law on the line. Liberals 45, Conservatives 36, NDP 8, Bloc 5, Greens 3, PPC 2, 16% undecided. Liberals are up since the Cinq Chefs show in Quebec. Conservatives are leading by 3 in BC over the Liberals. NDP are back down to 13 in BC after getting up to 20% after EB's announcement. And relevant to the fact that Carney is in prime ministerial mode, tariff mode today, best to deal with healthcare. Carney, 28, Poilievre, 25, Singh, 21.
That's interesting. You'd think that'd be a more commanding lead for Carney, but I guess nobody's talking healthcare these days.
Best deal with affordability. Poilievre, 31, Carney, 29, Singh, 15.
That represents some deterioration in his number relative to where it was before for Carney, right?
I think maybe a little bit, if I'm recalling correctly.
yeah, I think so. They were up.
Best deal with Donald Trump. Carney, 46, Poilievre, 30, Singh, 5. Best deal with the economic fallout from tariffs. Carney, 49, Poilievre, 27, Singh, 5.
It's interesting. That last question seems to be where the conservative argument has tried to migrate in the last number of days, right? There's nothing we can do about Trump. He's a force of nature. The wind will blow. It'll be what it'll be. The question is, how do we reshape our economy going forward? Who's going to protect you and your pocketbook? And don't give it back. Don't give that job to the guys that just screwed you for a decade. But
it's a tricky argument, though, because you're asking voters to follow you through a couple steps. And I think this suggests it's not really sticking for them.
The choice for Canada's energy future, as we seek to further decarbonize and secure our national electricity grid, is clearly our own made-in-Canada can-do large reactor technology. Can-dos have been powering the Canadian economy, families, and industry for more than 60 years. Our existing CANDO reactors are being refurbished, updated, and modernized for today's needs and standards to run another 30 years, on time and on budget. But that's not enough. There is a need to build new large CANDOs across the country to help grow our economies with clean baseload power. The Conference Board of Canada will tell you the economic stimulus of that investment will be well worth it. CANDOs use natural uranium fuel, mined and prepared right here at home. No imported enriched fuel needed. That means Trump tariff-proof energy security and reliability. CANDOs also provide vast quantities of life-saving medical isotopes used in hospitals right across the country. CANDOs are more than 90% Canadian, built and run with great-paying union jobs. And credit where credit is due. The province of Ontario and OPG have made the necessary investments in small modular reactors. These will be needed in more remote locations in the future. But it doesn't stop there. Today, the next generation large reactors are being planned for investment in many parts of the country, starting in Ontario. CANDO Energy and their employees are proud to be leading that effort. CANDOs, designed by Canadians, built by Canadians, for the benefit of Canadians. Let's power through.
Jordan, just to start off, I mean, is there a healthcare play for the NDP?
Yeah, I do think that there is, and it's not maybe the typical healthcare play. This is not a deep policy cut, but it's about reminding people of a brand strength for the NDP, and it's about frankly building up one of the really last strong favorables that Singh has on an issue. And I do think we've seen the campaign touch on it. So they were out a couple days ago doing an announcement around the extension of pharmacare, which, like, of course, is not really a big part of the debate right now, but is an opportunity to go out and talk about healthcare. And then yesterday, they had a piece coming out where they went through what some of the budget freezes would look like potentially under Carney, and calculated hypothetically what the cut to health spending might be. And so that allowed them to go out and do a hit about future cuts to health spending under the Liberals. So we are seeing them make that a theme. That's a theme that drives people, I think, back to the NDP because they feel confident that the NDP is going to prioritize healthcare. When you have these numbers to work with, I think you gotta work with some of your areas of strength, even if they're not on the ballot question. Clearly, right now for the NDP, the Trump question is squeezing them out. It's not a position of strength, so they have to look in some other places. And I think that when we see that, they're shifting their messaging this week, right? And Nick didn't mention it, but they've got a new video out, and I understand there's some ads that are going to be coming today as well. This is their end game. So their end game is going to be about reminding Canadians about the values that an NDP caucus and the NDP fights for, and why they're valuable in Parliament. And a huge part of that in voters' minds is always associated with healthcare.
I don't get this, though, about healthcare. Both the Liberals and the NDP want to talk about pharma and dental, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that they're new, right? And I don't necessarily think they're the same thing, because I think dental is a bigger program that has probably more traction in the population than pharma does at the moment. But nonetheless, the issue in healthcare is that nobody can get a doctor, and emergency wards are either closed or war zones. So why don't parties talk about that? That's what people are upset about.
So they have talked about doctors. Like, I think the NDP came out with a doctor guarantee earlier this week. But to be honest with you, I think, you're right. Like, if you look at research and sort of how the programs resonate, the dental care program is probably a little bit more of a material and tangible thing for people, that they feel it's a benefit that they're protective of. Pharmacare, I think, is being used a little bit more as a symbol, as a way to stand in for a broader conversation on healthcare. But, we are seeing the NDP campaign touch on all these different things, which tells me that they are looking for every way to put healthcare in the window, to talk about spending more on healthcare, to talk about addressing some of those problems. because the other campaigns have not had it really as a core part of their message. And again, if you look at what they need to do, part of that is peeling some of those soft voters off Carney. And so that is waving a cautionary flag about the risk of any cuts that he might bring that could impact healthcare. So, maybe not the top strategy you pick off the shelf, but if you're where the NDP is, not a bad one in terms of building on where there's an area of brand strength.
I kind of wonder if it doesn't feel to me like that's going to go very far because healthcare is a problem. But I'm not sure that anybody really believes that Jagmeet Singh is the solution to it. And I wonder if the better appeal is putting it into a handful of very vibrant, high testing examples of things that could be at risk as we sort out the next step with the United States and Donald Trump. And I wonder if the better play for the NDP would be to say, listen, right, if Mark Carney is going to be the prime minister and he's going to negotiate a brand new, as he claims, a brand new unified field theory with the United States that covers economics and security, right? What kind of compromises are these sons of bitches going to have to make? Like, what kind of demands is that a person like Donald Trump going to put on? Like, we've heard him talk about drugs. So don't you think that a guy like Mark Carney is going to find himself under the gun to give up, right, our lower drug prices? Don't you think that you're going to find that, some of the elements of our healthcare system, Trump's going to target those? Are those things going to get traded away on the shuttle between Ottawa and Washington by these guys at some point? You need the NDP there to keep a cigarette lighter under their ass. Like, I just wonder if that's, and maybe that's too cerebral. Maybe that argument is too.
No, I actually don't think it is.
I think that might be the better.
I think that's where they're going. And if you, so they released a video late last night where actually effectively they make that argument. They talk about the threat of Trump, what could be on the table. And pharmaceuticals is a really great example because he's talked about tariffing pharmaceuticals as well. So that's actually going to have a huge impact here. And so when those things are on the table, when we're having those fights with the United States, the argument that they're making in this video is that who's going to be there to protect a basket of things that Canadians care about that includes healthcare, that includes social services, that includes, our public assets like water and things like that. So this is about finding a version almost of nationalism that fits for the NDP. It's about finding a place for them in that conversation. And I think that for them, that's also about making the case you would miss us if we were gone, right? That there is value in having that presence there. And so they're shifting to that message with 2 weeks out. And the hope is, I think that's enough time for that to penetrate a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know that an appeal to the save the party will work very well, but an appeal for the utility of the party is a better thing. But here's the problem. Nobody will listen to this until they conclude the Liberals are safe as houses, right?
Yep.
And that won't be for at least a week.
Yeah, that's a post-debate dynamic.
Yeah, but right. I think you gotta lay some runway.
No, but I'm not disagreeing, right? But you got to, in that last week, pick one of those arguments and drive it. You can't shotgun it in the last week. You got to have determined and laid the groundwork for what is the best argument to bring a person back to keep the Carney government honest. It may be what Scott said. It may be some other thing. But it's going to be a tight. Yeah. Got to be a tight window to land that.
Yeah.
It's still the real thing that will do it is a sense. Like, I think about a bunch of NDP Liberal switchers in 416 where I live, and it will be consistent polls and a declaration day after day by the media that Mark Carney is going to win a majority government. And then they'll say, okay, I can safely drift back to do my bit with my ballot for my preferred party. The Canadian project is not at risk. And, see, my God, wait a second. I think I hear the stone being removed by the apostles. Has Jesus risen? Could it be? Could it be our Lord and Savior off the cross? Kory Teneycke glides down.
Wow.
Oh, I thought the Romans had done him in. Oh, look at Kory. Oh my God, you've done it.
Woo!
Look, all the bullet holes are covered up. Nice makeup job, pal.
Thanks, buddy.
Good morning,
We
sir.
are happy to see you.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you
Happy
still
to
in
be
the
here.
turret?
I'm in the turret, man. I'm in the fucking turret. Look at this.
A little hungy this morning, a little dehydrated, possibly.
A little dehydrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who I saw last night? I saw your buddy Marco. Of all
Oh, good.
people. Yeah.
Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister. There you go.
The staff to the Prime Minister. He's going to play a little. He's going to get a little shut out later.
Well, Kory, you can catch your breath. We're talking about the NDP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long breath. A long breath.
I think we're done. I think we're done. Really.
More
It's
to
kind of the
say
theme-
Monday, I'm sure.
Theme of the NDP conversation.
All right, so I got a question, Scott, and I'll start it off with you.
I saw Laura Ross actually, not last night, but like here at the Manning Center. You know, Laura. Anyway,
I don't know.
We drove by her place on Albert in Regina the other day.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Cool.
all kinds of people.
All kinds of people. Is it a party scene, the Manning thing? I didn't think movement conservatives were partiers.
There were a lot of people at the Shore Club. That's what I remember.
Yeah. All right. Here's my question, Scott, to you,
All right.
which is, okay, so we've been saying, Kory said explicitly yesterday, Carney should be the Prime Minister as many days of the week as he can be. And those are better campaign days for him than announcing gun buyback plans in Brampton or wherever. So he's doing it today. And I guess my question is, what is the threshold for the legitimacy of these things now? Like, it's not as obvious to me today, for example, why they're doing it as it has been in previous times. Like, what is the national imperative for there to be a meeting and all that today? So is there a test they have to meet for the legitimacy? Like, does he have to have an announceable today to have made this worthwhile, or what?
I don't know that there's
Not
an answer.
worthwhile, but I mean, I wonder if there's going to start to be criticism of this if it's seen as bullshit.
I do think behind the scenes there's a public service test applied, and people might be cynical about it, but I do think that I do think that, PCO goes, but ultimately the PM's going to get the PM's way. But I think today will mark a little bit of an interesting shift. I assume it's all alchemy, right? This is unprecedented, so they're making it up as they go along in terms of what the convention really is like in this unconventional period. I think today is going to shift from every other time it's happened in the campaign. It's been triggered by an indisputable objective event. I think this time it may hinge a little bit more on what he says coming out of it, right? So does he take action today? It seems to me the legitimate reason for having this meeting is that we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what we know, right? Like, because we are going to have the 10% applied to us, then we weren't going to have the 10% applied to us. What's going on with pharmaceuticals? Is this thing? What's the full ambit of our exposure to the China back and forth? So having some action coming on that, saying, look, I'm deputizing people to do this or that, or we got this piece of information in the White House. I think that if it's just we met, there was a briefing, I have very somber Knowlton Nashy voice tonight, and therefore let's move along. I think then you might find there'll be greater cynicism expressed about the next time. Although I saw Michael Chong was pissing on it today and saying this is beyond the pale. Well, this guy, part of Pierre Poilievre's conservative movement, and he thinks that this is a breach of protocol and norms. But anyway,
and this is the point. It's like, who's going to criticize it? Okay,
but remember, this is the guy who resigned from cabinet over like community of communities sort of nonsense. Anyway, whatever. Look, we just went through this in Ontario, and the answer is because the campaign manager put it in the calendar and said, like, this is the day that we're going to DC, right? Like it's the caretaker convention, like these things. It's not the caretaker law. The government can decide whatever it wants, and the reason is because they said so. It's there isn't a reason that you have to or you don't have to, right? Like it is discretionary. I think that the bigger thing is like, is it justifiable? Can you actually explain it? Are you doing something that makes sense to people? Like, that's, but there's not like a rule, right? You don't dust off a book of rules that say now you can, be the government on this day for this reason and not this other day. Like half the time that we did this, like in the provincial election, it was to go and do things that basically were lobbying with other premiers in DC. It wasn't an external event thing. It was the planned thing that we knew from the beginning of the campaign we were going to be down there.
I think he has to say, to your point, Kory, he has to say something at the end of it that is substantial enough that the story is about what he said, as opposed to the fact that he manipulated the campaign to look like the prime minister for a day.
Did you do something, right?
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the provincial election, we did something. We went down with other premiers to Washington.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that last.
I don't think that's not a hard bar to meet. And also, I'll say the difference, Kory, too, is like he's not into the weeds of chartering a plane and who's paying for what, and like this is like. This is, I think, a more reasonably defensible type of thing to do, and easier to orchestrate some sort of an outcome that meets a nod test.
Well, but like, anyway, happy to chat about the plane thing because like that was the thing. But like, what's your idea of like what the better way to do that is? Right?
Well, I'm not saying that there necessarily was, but it's just it's like is a more complicated piece, right? This is less.
Can you defend it? Can you defend it? Like, is it a reason that passes the sniff test is what it is, right? Mm. And, so, if he takes a day off, I guess we'll see what he does. Like, either it's a good reason or not.
This is the epitome of Ford had a slightly more fortuitous circumstance in the sense that as crazy as things are right now, they don't feel as crazy to me as they did at the Trump level during the Ontario election, which is when he was really off on the 51st state stuff and he was talking about us every fucking day. And right.
Yeah. But I think the situation is more serious now, to be honest. Like, we were talking about tariffs that were coming, right? Yeah. And things that might happen as opposed to where we are right now, which is like these things are in effect. Like, he basically took them off, minus 10% on everywhere. We'll see what it is a day from now, but we still have 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. We still have the fake fentanyl tariffs. We still have the auto tariffs, right? Like there's like we actually have all of that. That's going on now, and a bunch of countries got a pass on a bunch of this, and we didn't.
He'll be on TV looking like the prime minister, being the prime minister. That is when he's at his best. It's going to kill the day. And as you say, David, we're getting really up our own ass in terms of all this stuff, and people will. The editorial page of the Globe will, and other people might. But ultimately, the test is: does he come out and say, "Listen, all right, we met in here. 1, 2, 3 things we've done." Then that's the news. If it isn't, then it'll be like, who asked the snarkiest question about how come we're here? But my guess is they know that. I don't think they're that dumb.
I don't think it's a hard bar to get over.
There's a reason or there isn't. And you got to assume if they're doing it, there is a reason.
Yeah. I think that's the other possibility is that they do know something we don't.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's been a lot of exchanges. I mean, that afternoon when we were told the 10% did apply to us, and then like it wasn't like it took us time to get clarification. We were told we were officially, and then we were told we were not officially. Like it is a fucking Muppet movie down there.
That is true.
Right. All right. I think it's time for blessings and curses.
I'll go first because his name was just mentioned, and it's kind of the subtext of what we're talking about. My blessing goes to Marco Mendicino, my longtime buddy, who's now no longer a member of parliament, no longer a minister. Did you know, by the way, that he officially resigned prior to the writ period when he took on the job of chief of staff? That subtlety was lost to me for a couple of days till he pointed it out. Marco Mendicino, chief of staff, usually when you're the guy who gets left behind during the RIP period, and that happens, right? Who's the staffer who gets left behind? You're the contact in PMO. Like you send them like, oh, by the way, here's something about pork futures I'm going to send to the plane. Like you struggle to find a way to connect with all your old friends and bosses. And boy, that's not the case this time. The left behind chief of staff is having to do real work and juggle real grenades. So hats off to Marco Mendocino, who I think looks like he's doing a crackerjack job in what is one of the most trying circumstances and an unprecedented situation, as we all just talked about. So good guy, doing good work.
All right, next one. Jordan?
Well, a curse going out to the Conservative campaign, and this is very much along the lines of Kory's discussion.
Sorry, we don't allow negative Conservative campaign talk
you know
on
what?
this podcast.
I think
we're only positive.
No, we don't do that around here.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think we filled our quota.
Loving advice. Loving advice, then. So last night at the rally, I don't know if you guys caught this, but there was like a moment of banter that Anna Polyev was bantering with this influencer called the Pleb. Anyway. Because I'm a nerd.
Good already.
It's great. I'm a nerd.
Good.
So this guy who's
Please
like,
finish the story and feel free to make up something that I like even better than the truth.
It's perfect. So this guy's got like a special riser so that he can like show the crowd size to his 175,000 followers. Yeah, you're making the right gesture, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say like. You click through on this guy's page, and what does he have on his banner? But literally, like a picture of Trump and apple munching Polyev side by side. So this is stunning. Like this is a full-on paranoid MAGA fantasy land. Like these guys are penning up actual journalists in little cages on the tarmac and putting these people who are disinformation spreading, too big to rig, by the way, a hashtag he was using with this rally coverage. And they're elevating these guys and bantering with them and giving them special treatment and access and shout outs. So it's a curse because of all the reasons that Kory talked about, but it's a curse from my perspective because you are scaring my people. Stop it. These visuals are really bad. These visuals are absolutely driving progressives definitely into the arms of the liberals. It is counterproductive, and it's also stupid for your campaign. So I guess in a roundabout way, it's maybe another shout out to Kory for providing the unpalatable but quite correct advice yesterday. Less of this.
Like what are those nightclubs with the go-go girls in a cage dancing? Only in this case, it's like a dude who's anti-vax dancing. It's not quite the same effect, but whatever turns you on.
Couple of incels,
We're deep in the Reddit threads, guys.
Kory, you got a blessing or a curse?
I got a blessing for John Rustad, who I had lunch with yesterday, and very nice guy, and. You would have liked it, Jordan. We had a long talk about the NDP, and but like the NDP
how are the wounds?
The NDP who can win elections and like fight really hard, not the NDP that we have federally that don't exist. But anyway, it was good conversation and interesting guy.
All right. My curse goes out to Danielle Smith, who, speaking at the Manning Center thing yesterday, again laid out the conditions under which she thought Alberta might remain in Canada. And she's going to get my curse every time she pursues this Jacques Parizeau knife to the throat federalism approach. And it's an outrage to me that she continues to swan around treating Alberta's participation in Canada as conditional upon policies that the new federal government might impose. And so she gets my curse, and she'll get it every time she does it. Because Canada, vive la Canada, inviolable, indivisible, unified.
Vive la Canada.
Vive la Canada.
Although I am the son of a chrétien.
Right. All right, let's limp out of this week, rejuvenate ourselves over the weekend, and come back reinvigorated for week 4, debate week. I'm so excited for your guys' French debate analysis on CTV. Right?
I've been studying.
The CTV is so poor they cannot hire French people to do the French analysis. They've got it.
That is not true. We're only doing English, aren't we?
We're doing it in English, and
no, I'd like you guys to do it in French. I think we should.
Oui, c'est bon. Très drôle avec le candidat.
Well, you're the guy that told me you likes to listen to the French debate in French so that you can hear how they're performing, which just means to me that you don't understand a word that happens in the fucking
That's right.
debate.
But then I can understand.
I will understand.
If I understand them, I know they're doing badly.
The worse your French, the better I will understand.
Yeah.
The high quality analysis we love to bring to you folks.
All right. Well, yesterday we had 297 YouTube comments. Yes, I confess I was curious enough to check it out, and not all of them were complimentary.
But more than normal.
Yeah, more than normal.
More than normal, Kory.
I have not, hazarded to actually look at them. So I will trust you.
You pulled all the beetles out of the tree, buddy. It was something else.
Yeah. Well, I've been off Twitter since like 2012. So, yeah.
Wise decision.
A good life choice.
All right. Thank you, Enbridge, for another week of polling. And thank you, Can Do, for another week of sponsorship. Appreciate your support. And thank you, all of you accursed, who bore with us this week. And we will be back on Monday, and we hope to see you then. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and have a great weekend. You too, you three. Have fun.